The boy's journey to uncover the hidden city was anything but easy. Imagine this. You're deep in the jungle, surrounded by towering trees that block out the sun, leaving the forest floor in eerie twilight. Every sound feels amplified. The rustle of leaves, the distant cry of unseen animals, and the ever-present buzz of insects that never seem to leave you alone. Now picture this through the eyes of a child. Every step forward meant stepping into the unknown, and for this boy, the jungle wasn't just a place. It was a living, breathing entity. The dangers he faced were relentless. Venomous snakes slithered silently through the underbrush, their beady eyes watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One wrong step could mean a bite that would end his journey forever. Then there were the spiders. These weren't your ordinary house spiders. These were massive, jungle-dwelling predators with webs as strong as ropes, stretched across paths like invisible traps. Every brush against a branch made his heart race. Was it just a leaf, or was something lurking ready to pounce? And let's not forget the jungle itself. An endless maze of thick vines, jagged rocks, and muddy trails that seemed determined to trip him up at every turn. The heat was suffocating, the air so humid it felt like he was breathing through a wet blanket. Sweat poured down his face, stinging his eyes and soaking his clothes. There was no relief, no escape, just the unyielding pressure to keep moving forward. But the jungle's physical challenges weren't the only obstacles he had to overcome. No, the real battle was against something much harder to fight. The doubts of the people he looked up to. The elders, the wise ones of his village, had always been his guiding light. They knew the jungle better than anyone. They had lived there their entire lives. Surely they would support him, right? Well, when the boy first spoke of the hidden city, the elders laughed. A city of gold, they scoffed. You've been listening to too many bedtime stories, boy. Their words stung, cutting deeper than any thorn in the jungle ever could. To them, his dream was nothing more than a foolish fantasy, a tale for entertaining children around the campfire. But this wasn't a dream to the boy. It was real. He could feel it in his bones like a calling he couldn't ignore. Yet every time he tried to convince the elders, they shut him down. The jungle has no secrets left for us, they insisted. We know every tree, every river, every path. If there were a hidden city, we would have found it by now. Their skepticism was like a wall he couldn't break through. Can you imagine how that must have felt? To be so certain of something, only to have everyone you admire dismiss you. He could have given up then and there, most people would have. But not this boy. His determination burned brighter with every rejection. If the elders wouldn't believe him, then he'd just have to prove it on his own. So, armed with nothing but sheer grit and a handful of clues, he ventured into the jungle alone. He didn't have a map or a guide, just a few scraps of stories passed down through generations. Whispers of a city where the streets sparkled like the stars and the air hummed with ancient power. That was all he had to go on. And yet he pressed forward. Day after day, night after night. He battled the jungle's merciless trials. He fashioned tools from sticks and stones, built makeshift shelters to protect himself from the rain, and learned to listen to the jungle's rhythms, its hidden language of rustles, chirps, and silences that warned of danger or guided him toward safety. But there were moments, oh so many moments, when he wanted to give up. When exhaustion weighed on him like a boulder and fear whispered in his ear, "Turn back. You'll never make it." When the howls of distant predators sent shivers down his spine, reminding him that he was just a small boy in a vast, unforgiving wilderness. And yet he didn't stop. He couldn't. Something inside him refused to let him quit. Maybe it was the faint hope of proving the elders wrong, or maybe it was the pull of the city itself, calling to him like a distant melody only he could hear. What truly fueled his determination, though, was the vision he held in his mind. The hidden city, shimmering with secrets, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. He could see it so clearly, even in the darkest nights when doubt threatened to consume him. It wasn't just about finding a city. It was about finding himself, proving that he was more than just a dreamer. He was an explorer, a seeker of truths, and he wouldn't let the jungle, or the doubts of others, stop him. So, step by step, he carved his path through the dense wilderness. Every scrape, every stumble, every moment of fear only strengthened his resolve. Because deep down he knew, the greatest discoveries are never easy. They demand everything you have and then some. And this boy, he was willing to give it all. This version amplifies the emotions, suspense, and challenges to make the narrative truly engaging and realistic. Let me know if it aligns with your vision. The boy's first steps into the hidden city felt like stepping into another world, a world that had been untouched by time and shielded from prying eyes for centuries. Can you imagine it? After weeks of battling the jungle's endless challenges, he suddenly emerged into a clearing where the thick, green walls of the forest gave way to something extraordinary. Towering structures rose above him, their once sharp edges softened by moss and vines. These weren't ordinary ruins. They were magnificent, like something out of a storybook, and they seemed to hum with an energy that sent chills down his spine. The streets, paved with stones worn smooth by ages long past, shimmered faintly in the dappled sunlight that broke through the canopy. Was it gold? It couldn't be. And yet, there it was, gleaming just enough to make him wonder what other secrets this place held. The air smelled different here. Damp and earthy, yes, but tinged with something unexplainable, something ancient. It was as though the very essence of the city had been waiting, preserved, for someone brave enough to find it. Everywhere he turned, there were carvings, intricate designs etched into the walls of crumbling temples and towering pyramids. They weren't just decorations. They were stories, messages from a time long forgotten. He ran his fingers over the symbols, feeling the grooves under his fingertips and wondering what they could mean. Who had made these? What were they trying to tell him? Each carving felt like a puzzle piece, and the boy's mind raced as he tried to piece together the story of the city. But it wasn't just the carvings that captivated him. The boy discovered artifacts scattered around, broken pottery, tools made of stone, and even fragments of jewelry that sparkled faintly under the dirt and grime. They were like breadcrumbs leading him deeper into the city, urging him to explore every corner, every shadow. One object in particular caught his eye. A small, ornate dagger with a blade so finely crafted it seemed impossible that it had been made by hand. Holding it in his hands, the boy felt a connection, a sense of awe and respect for the people who had once called this place home. As he delved further into the city, he began to hear whispers. Not actual voices, of course, but the kind of whispers that seemed to emanate from a place itself. The creaks of ancient stone, the rustle of leaves stirred by a breeze that seemed to come from nowhere. It was as if the city was alive, its very walls breathing with the memories of those who had walked its streets long ago. The boy couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Was it the ghosts of the past, or was his imagination running wild? Either way, it made every step more thrilling and more terrifying. And then there were the legends. The boy had heard bits and pieces from the elders before they dismissed him, tales of a powerful tribe that had ruled over this mysterious city. According to the stories, the tribe had been more advanced than anyone could imagine, with knowledge of the stars, the earth, and even the human spirit that rivaled anything the modern world had ever known. They were said to have built the city not just as a home but as a sanctuary, a place where their wisdom and power could be preserved for eternity. One legend in particular stuck with the boy. It spoke of a treasure hidden deep within the city, not of gold or jewels but of knowledge, a sacred artifact said to contain the secrets of life itself. Could it still be here? Could he be the one to find it? The thought made his heart race with a mix of excitement and fear. What if the stories were true? What if this city held the answers to questions humanity hadn't even thought to ask? As the boy explored, the reality of the city's decline became heartbreakingly clear. The grandeur of its pyramids and temples was undeniable, but time had taken its toll. Walls had crumbled, pathways had been overtaken by roots and vines, and entire sections of the city had been swallowed by the jungle. It was a stark reminder that even the greatest civilizations are not immune to the forces of nature and time. And yet, amidst the decay, there was beauty, an almost poetic harmony between the ruins and the jungle that had reclaimed them. The boy couldn't help but wonder about the people who had lived here. What had their lives been like? What had they dreamed of, feared, and celebrated? Standing in the shadow of a towering pyramid, he felt a deep connection to these long-gone individuals, as if their spirits were reaching out to him, sharing their stories in the only way they could, through the city they had built. But as incredible as the discovery was, the boy knew it wouldn't mean anything unless he could share it with others. He had to prove to the elders, and to himself, that this city was real, that the legends were true. He spent hours sketching what he saw, collecting small artifacts, and documenting everything as best as he could. It wasn't just about proving a point anymore. It was about preserving a piece of history that had been hidden for so long. With every step deeper into the city, the boy felt a mix of emotions: awe, curiosity, fear, and determination. This wasn't just an adventure. It was a journey of discovery, not only of a hidden city but of himself. He had faced the doubts of others, the dangers of the jungle, and the mysteries of the past, and now he stood at the heart of something extraordinary. Little did he know, the most incredible part of his journey was still to come. This expanded version delves into the boy's emotional journey, the awe of his discoveries, and the rich history of the hidden city, making it vivid, engaging, and emotionally compelling. The moment had finally arrived. The boy, trembling with excitement and a touch of fear, stood before the village elders, his hands clutching the artifacts he had painstakingly gathered from the hidden city. Each step he took toward them felt heavier, like he was carrying the weight of the entire jungle's secrets on his shoulders. Would they listen? Would they finally believe him, or would they dismiss him again, as they had so many times before? The elders sat in their usual circle, their faces weathered by years of wisdom and tradition. They were the keepers of stories, the guardians of their people's knowledge, but they had always seen the boy as just a dreamer, chasing shadows in a jungle that held no more mystery for them. As he approached, their gazes fell on him, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The boy's heart pounded. This was it. Everything hinged on this moment. "I found it," he began, his voice cracking slightly but full of determination. "The hidden city, it's real." He opened his hands to reveal the small, ornate dagger, a fragment of pottery with intricate carvings, and a gold ornament that glinted in the sunlight. Gasps rippled through the group. For the first time, the elders leaned forward, their eyes widening in disbelief. "Where did you find these?" one of them asked, her voice trembling. She was the oldest among them, known for her sharp mind and an unshakable skepticism. "In the jungle," the boy replied, his voice gaining strength. "Beyond the river, past the old banyan tree. It's there. A city unlike anything we've ever seen. Pyramids, temples, streets paved with gold. It's not just a legend, it's our history." For a moment, silence hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of shock, doubt, and something else, something that looked a lot like hope. Finally, the eldest among them rose from her seat. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of authority. "Show us," she said. The boy led them through the dense jungle, retracing his steps with a nervous energy that kept his heart racing. The elders followed, their skepticism gradually giving way to curiosity with each passing moment. They hadn't ventured this deep into the jungle in years. Decades, even. The thick foliage seemed to press in around them, the air heavy with humidity and the sounds of the forest. But the boy's determination was contagious. And then it happened. The first glimpse of the hidden city came into view, peeking through the dense greenery like a mirage. The elders stopped in their tracks, their jaws dropping as they took in the sight before them. Pyramids that kissed the sky, temples cloaked in vines, and ancient carvings that seemed to whisper secrets from a time long forgotten. This can't be real," one elder whispered, his voice shaking. "It was just a story, a tale to entertain the children." "It's real," the boy replied, his voice steady and filled with pride. "And it's ours." The group stepped into the city, their awe growing with each step. The boy led them to the carvings he had discovered, pointing out the intricate details that told the stories of their ancestors. The elders ran their fingers over the stone, their faces a mix of wonder and sorrow. How could they have dismissed this? How could they have let their own history fade into myth? One elder, a man known for his stern demeanor, sank to his knees before a crumbling temple. Tears streamed down his face as he stared at the inscriptions etched into its walls. These are our ancestors, he said, his voice thick with emotion. This is their story, their legacy. The boy watched as the elders explored the city, their disbelief melting into a reverent respect for what lay before them. They climbed the pyramids, marveling at the view from the top. They examined the artifacts scattered around, their hands trembling as they held pieces of their past. They listened as the boy recounted the legends he had uncovered, their eyes widening with each new revelation. But the most powerful moment came when they stood together in the heart of the city, surrounded by its towering structures and the whispers of history. The eldest elder turned to the boy, her eyes brimming with tears. "You've done what none of us dared to do," she said. "You've proven that the stories we dismissed as myths were true. You've reminded us of who we are, of where we come from." The boy's heart swelled with pride. For so long, he had been seen as nothing more than a foolish dreamer. But now, in this moment, he was something more, an explorer, a historian, a bridge between the past and the present. The elders began to talk among themselves, their voices filled with excitement and purpose. They spoke of preserving the city, of learning from its secrets, of sharing its stories with the younger generations. They were no longer skeptical, they were inspired. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the hidden city, the boy stood with the elders, his gaze sweeping over the ruins. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a knowing that his journey had not been in vain. This was more than just a discovery. It was a homecoming, a reconnection with a past that had been waiting patiently to be found. And as the elders turned to him, their faces alight with gratitude and respect, the boy realized that he had done something truly extraordinary. He had not only discovered a hidden city, he had rediscovered his community's identity. "What you've shown us today will change everything," the eldest elder said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you for reminding us to believe, not just in legends but in each other." This expanded section captures the awe, emotional depth, and life-changing significance of the moment when the boy's discovery was revealed to the elders. It brings to life the characters' emotions and the weight of this pivotal moment with a realistic and immersive tone. The boy's heart raced as he stood at the edge of the village, clutching a bundle of artifacts wrapped in a piece of cloth. This was it, the moment he had dreamed of, feared, and worked tirelessly to reach. He had returned from the depths of the jungle with undeniable proof of the hidden city's existence. But would the elders believe him? Or would they laugh him away as they had before? Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward into the gathering circle. The elders were seated in their usual place under the ancient baobab tree, their faces stern and lined with wisdom. The whole village had turned out to watch. Whispers floated through the crowd like restless winds, their words a mix of doubt and anticipation. "What is it this time, boy?" one elder asked, his tone a mix of exhaustion and curiosity. The boy had told them countless tales of his adventures, each met with dismissive chuckles. But today was different. He knew it, he felt it. "I found it," he said, his voice trembling but firm. "The city. The hidden city. It's real." He unfolded the cloth to reveal a golden pendant, a shard of pottery engraved with strange symbols, and a small, intricately carved idol. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but the elders remained silent, their faces unreadable. "Where did you get these?" demanded the oldest elder, her sharp eyes fixed on the boy. She was the one who had always dismissed his stories as nothing more than the imaginings of a restless child. "Beyond the great river, deep in the jungle," he replied, his voice rising with excitement. "There are pyramids, temples, streets made of stone, everything the legends spoke of and more. These are just a few pieces of what I found there." For a moment, the elders exchanged glances, their expressions shifting between skepticism and intrigue. Finally, The oldest elder stood and took the golden pendant from his trembling hands. She turned it over, her eyes narrowing as she examined the intricate designs. "This symbol," she murmured almost to herself. "It's the mark of the ancients." Her voice cracked with emotion. The crowd leaned in, straining to hear. "I saw it all with my own eyes," the boy insisted. "The carvings, the statues, the ruins. It's all there. We've been living in the shadow of something incredible and didn't even know it." Another elder stepped forward, a stern man who had always been quick to dismiss tales of myth and magic. He picked up the shard of pottery, his fingers running over the strange symbols etched into its surface. "This looks old," he admitted grudgingly. "Very old. But that doesn't mean—" "Take us there," the eldest elder interrupted, her voice ringing with authority. The crowd gasped, and even the boy was stunned into silence. He stammered, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "Show us this city," she said firmly, her gaze piercing. "If what you say is true, we must see it with our own eyes. Lead the way." The jungle journey back to the city was tense and filled with anticipation. The boy led the elders through the dense foliage, the familiar sounds of the jungle feeling louder and more ominous with the weight of their mission. The elders moved cautiously, their eyes darting to every rustle in the leaves and every shadow that seemed to shift. Finally, as the boy pushed aside a curtain of vines, the hidden city came into view. The elders froze, their mouths falling open in collective awe. Before them stood a sprawling city of crumbling temples, towering pyramids, and streets paved with stone. Sunlight streamed through the canopy above, illuminating the ancient structures in a golden glow that seemed almost otherworldly. This cannot be," whispered the stern elder, his voice barely audible. "It was just a story. Just a legend." "It's real," the boy said, unable to hide the pride in his voice. "I told you." The group moved forward slowly, their steps hesitant as if they were afraid the city might vanish like a mirage. The eldest elder approached a towering stone tablet covered in carvings, her fingers trembling as she traced the symbols. These are the stories of our ancestors," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "They weren't myths. They were history." The stern elder knelt before a shattered statue of a warrior, his hand resting on the figure's chipped shield. "Our people built this," he said, his voice breaking. "Our ancestors. And we forgot them." Tears streamed down the faces of some of the elders as they wandered through the ruins, touching the walls, examining the carvings, and marveling at the sheer magnitude of what their people had created. The boy watched them with a mixture of relief and triumph. For so long he had been the dreamer, the fool chasing shadows. But now he was the one who had brought their history back to life. As they stood together in the heart of the city, the eldest elder turned to the boy. "You have done something extraordinary," she said, her voice filled with reverence. "You have given us back a piece of who we are. This city, this history. It belongs to all of us, but it was you who brought it back into the light." The boy felt his chest swell with pride. This was more than validation. It was the moment he had waited for his entire life. The elders no longer looked at him as a foolish dreamer. They saw him for what he truly was. A trailblazer, a seeker of truth, a keeper of their shared legacy. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting the ruins in shades of orange and gold, the eldest elder spoke again. "This city is a gift from our ancestors," she said. "But today it is also a gift from you. Thank you for not giving up on the truth, even when we could not see it." And in that moment the boy knew. This was just the beginning. The hidden city wasn't just a place of ruins and relics. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of discovery. And so, the boy's courage changed everything. What began as a journey of doubt and danger transformed into a story of triumph and rediscovery. The hidden city, long lost to time, now stood as a testament to the brilliance of their ancestors and the relentless determination of a young dreamer. The elders, once skeptical, were humbled and inspired. Their perspective forever changed. This wasn't just about ruins. It was about identity, history, and the spark of curiosity that can reignite a community's soul. Isn't it incredible how one person's bravery can uncover truths that reshape an entire world?